Well, thank you very much, Gabriela. Thank you for your presentation. It is an honor for me to open this workshop and in this important occasion of the Global Bioeconomy Summit, which is a celebration of the advances in the bioeconomy. And I wish all the participants in the summit a very successful week. I'm sure that whatever we discuss during this week, it's going to have a significant impact on the future development of the bioeconomy, a very much needed vision in the times that we have to face in these times. Can you see my presentation? Hello?
We can see it, Eduardo.
Okay. Well, the bioeconomy is about biological resources and knowledge. And in this sense, Latin America and the Caribbean it's well positioned to take advantage of what this division of the bioeconomy has to offer for sustainable development. I make this assertion on the basis of on two bases. On one side, there is the resources base. Latin America has 8 of the 15 megadiverse countries in the world, 23% of the forest cover, 28% of the remaining lands with agricultural potential, globally wise or worldwide. It is the region, the developed region with most potential agricultural land per inhabitant, per person. And it has 35% of the world's total fresh water supply. So on the supply side, mobilizing these resources in a sustainable way will be key. It's key for the region's economy, the economies of the region, the development of the economies of the region, but at the same time, it's an essential component of the global balances. And the other issue that it's moving or supporting the development of the bioeconomy is that the region has quite significant capacities in biology and biotechnology. Particularly true in the larger countries, but a number of the smaller countries have also developed significant capacities and experiences in these areas. These two elements have made for the basis for the development of the bioeconomy, which has shown already significant results in the area of bioenergies, biotechnology, and in the development of large-scale carbon-efficient production strategies. Regarding bioenergy, the region is the leader in export markets. It represents about 30% of all bioethanol production and over 20% of biodiesel coming from sugarcane, maize, soybeans, and oil palm. This has had a significant impact in the region economies because of the weight, particularly in some countries such as Brazil, where we will be hearing more. Brazil and Colombia, where we will be hearing more during our presentation and later on in the workshop. But the most important issue is that these developments have a significant impact in terms of greenhouse emission reduction, and even probably from the local point of view, a more interesting development in terms of what it's meant for the rural territories in terms of the creation of new jobs. I think that this it's an area where, as we will see later on in the workshop, it's really one of the platforms for the bioeconomy in the region and for projecting the sector into the future. The second area I mentioned was biotechnology. The region was an early adopter, and today is the leading developing region in the world in agricultural biotech use. 5 of the largest producers of genetically modified organisms are from Latin America, and 4 more countries are included in the list of countries which have already adopted the technology. In the right side of the screen, you can see the list of the countries. Brazil and Argentina are second and third, with almost 80 million hectares between them, with soybeans, maize, and cotton. Paraguay, Uruguay, and Bolivia are all in the list of countries with more than 1 million hectares in the list. Mexico, Colombia, Honduras, Chile, and Costa Rica are also countries which are already using the technologies. 80% of the total area of the major crops is under this type of technologies. But I think that even though that is important, that has created significant sustain for economic growth in the region and for the consolidation of the bioeconomy, maybe the most important issue looking into the future is the fact that there are close to market innovations from local research and development, both private and public, in major crops, such as beans, sugar canes, soybeans, and wheat. These are already in the late stage of regulatory processes, and in some cases ready to come into the market. This showing how capacities are coming together to produce new generations of technologies in these areas. And also another important thing is that it's a leader in the regulatory evolution for the new technologies. Essentially, we're talking about gene editing, where there are already close to market varieties in rice and potatoes, among other crops. Actually, in rice, there is a Colombian initiative which is already ready to come into the market and creating significant benefits both for the farmers, for the environment, and for food security, given the key, the strategic role that this crop plays in regional and global food security. I'm sorry, I think I did something wrong. Okay, and in terms of the carbon efficient agricultural production strategies, I mean, more than 60% of the total area under large scale no-till agriculture, it's in Latin America and the Caribbean. We are talking about 80 million hectares with significant environmental benefits, generating significant environmental benefits. In the southern countries, 80% of major crop production is under this type of this strategy, this production strategy, creating a synergy with biotechnology, which has generated very significant economic, environmental, and social benefits. Furthermore, a number of consolidating carbon neutral certifications processes are already installed in the regions. I'm going to mention just the 3 that are in the slide, but the list is long and growing every day. Embrapa low emission beef, it's one of the most established ones. I mean, offering to the world certified environmentally friendly beef production, sustainable coffee in the case of Costa Rica, with significant reduction of emissions in terms of carbon emissions, and a significant initiative also involving the cereal exchange of Buenos Aires, the Buenos Aires Cereal Exchange, that it's aiming to have under certification the whole of grain production, of agricultural production in Argentina. Now, these are the, I'm sorry. Sorry for the mishap. Now, let me sort of give you a brief idea about the institutional scene and what's been happening in the region regarding institutional development. And here I want to recognize the significant impact that a whole generation of international cooperation programs between the European countries and Latin American countries under the different framework programs, starting at the middle of last decade, in around 2005 to 2008, and then continuing until quite recently. These projects, which involved more than 20 countries altogether, from both sides of the Atlantic, played a really most relevant role in establishing the idea of the bioeconomy, but not only establishing the idea of the bioeconomy, but working together in a cooperative way to develop a Latin American perspective for the bioeconomy. Under the idea that the bioeconomy has a tremendous potential, but that there is no one bioeconomy, but it has to reflect that bioeconomy to be successful has to reflect the realities of the environment where it evolves. And I think that these projects, Agua Food, Agua KBB, Alquinet, all of them financed under the framework programs, or co-financed under the framework program, and as I said, involving more than 20 countries, have played a very significant role in bringing the bioeconomy to what it is today in Latin America. These initial experiences, I'm sorry, I can't move my slide. Here we go. We are almost there, so no problem. This is the map of where are we today. All these countries now have local strategic initiatives involving the bioeconomy. Some of them are partial in what they take, or they concentrate mostly on one or two aspects, but already 3 of the countries in the region, Costa Rica, Ecuador, and Uruguay, already have national bioeconomy strategies, and significant comprehensive efforts in the same direction are already underway in Colombia, in Brazil, in Argentina, and in other countries. The bioeconomy from the strategic point of view is a well-established concept, and one that it's already mainstreaming into the strategic decision-making about development policies. Let me finish now, and again, I lost the capacity to move my slides now, just with some overview of what are the issues on which we are getting now in the policy discussion. The first is that we are moving beyond the early science and technology focus that developed mainly under the umbrella of the cooperation projects I mentioned, where the science and technology sectors were the leading sectors in moving the concept and developing the discussion and supporting the discussion. Now, the good news is that the discussion has moved on into what it means for production, for agriculture, for industry, for health, for the environment. And that is the big issue which has been reflected in the national strategies that I mentioned. The second area where we are making progress, and it's the recognition that in order to get serious in the policy discussion, you have to be able to offer numbers, measures, what it means to move in the bioeconomy, what it means. And there is significant measurement efforts already underway. Some of the initial ones were supported under the projects the cooperation projects I mentioned, the initial development of also satellite account in Argentina, creating the first measure of the bioeconomy, was supported under the last project I mentioned, the AltNet project at the time. But now the efforts have moved on, and there are efforts to measure, to create numbers, so that we are able to monitor progress and to monitor and not only economic progress, but environmental impacts, social impacts, and there are efforts in other countries, in Brazil, in Colombia, probably next in Costa Rica, already underway in Uruguay. And the final point that we are starting to discuss is that we have reached the point where we have to institutionalize the vision within the policy implementation structures. I mean, bioeconomy is not only an idea, it has to be reflected in how the policies and get in touch with the realities of the productive world. And in that sense, there have been some initiatives in the region, still quite timid, but the issue is being recognized as one of the next priorities for the future development of the bioeconomy. With this, I end my presentation, and I thank you for your attention.